Lifting with a high heart rate is not cardio. Imagine I said I don't need to lift weights to get stronger because I walk. In this video, we'll cover why they're different, but also why cardio zones don't apply to lifting, circuit training, Pilates, or yoga, and how knowing this will help you adjust your target heart rate for zones across different forms of cardio. Oh yes, it is true that any exercise that gets your heart rate up will train your heart positively in some way. Cardio, or really aerobic training, and heart health come down to a lot more than just heart function. It's not just supply, it's also demand and that delivery process. We're targeting energy system function, like using fat, carbs, or lactate for fuel. Muscular adaptations like better oxygen delivery to muscle, and increasing the amount of capillaries and mitochondria each muscle has. All of that hinges on working aerobically, at an intensity where we can use energy systems that rely on oxygen in the working muscle, not what your heart rate is, or if you're working anaerobically or without oxygen. Heart rate is just like one kind of shitty indicator of what you're trying to do. That's only somewhat useful if you're already checking the box of doing cardio, which is continuous rhythmic movement for a long duration. Walking, hiking, rucking, jogging, running, cycling, swimming, elliptical, Nordic skiing, etc. To work aerobically, it starts from the muscle, not the heart. What muscle fibers are being targeted, and we'll simplify that very broad spectrum to slow twitch or type 1 and fast twitch or type 2. Aerobic adaptations are targeting slow twitch or type 1 fibers, which take a long time to fatigue, but produce much less force than fast twitch fibers, which fatigue faster. This means we need really high repetitions, specifically at a low level of force production per rep. Also for a long time, because the energy systems we're targeting take a while to produce energy and deliver it to the working muscle. And these fibers take a long time to fatigue. As I increase the force that's required per rep, the more I have to use fibers that are on the fast twitch end of the spectrum, or type 2, which fatigue faster and use energy that's anaerobic or doesn't require oxygen. And the more we go that way, the less we can use aerobic energy systems like fat, because these fibers lack the ability to use energy that requires oxygen, aka aerobic. Now you might think if I do 50 squats, 10 pull-ups, and 30 push-ups, that's pretty continuous. A lot of reps, long duration. Okay, but if you walk at a brisk pace for 30 minutes doing 120 steps per minute, that's 3,600 repetitions total, all with the same muscles instead of bouncing back and forth like an 8-year-old with Mountain Dew. Jogging for an hour at a stride rate of 180 is literally 11,000 repetitions. Name a single strength exercise that you can do 11,000 repetitions of. It's not even in the same realm as any sort of circuit training or flow in yoga. What does this mean? It highlights the significant difference in force required per repetition for cardio or aerobic exercise versus strength exercise or anaerobic exercise, and how much repetition of the exact same or very similar movement is needed to target energy system function and type 1 or slow twitch fiber. So A, if the force required per rep is too high to do literally thousands, it's not the same as aerobic training. And B, if I switch from one movement to the next in a circuit, change positions in yoga, yes, we're still constantly producing energy aerobically and anaerobically overall. I'm still challenging my metabolism and my ability to produce energy. They just have their distinct different benefits. But I'm not working any specific muscle's ability to work aerobically, meaning I'm not really emphasizing using fat as a fuel, or lactate, or glucose aerobically. I'm not exactly targeting capillary mitochondrial density of a specific muscle. Those rely on the muscles, the demand, doing the right thing. Because I'm not doing that exact motion, that exact repetitive contraction, over and over again long enough to challenge those energy systems and those muscle fibers. What's long enough? The absolute minimum is around 3 minutes of continuous work for the shortest duration zone that's still considered aerobic. The highest aerobic zone, aka zone 5, or like 540 repetitions in a row if we're talking about running. And the max for zone 2 is literally hours, tens of thousands of reps. Now all this stuff functions on a spectrum. Cardio zones aren't rigid and our bodies aren't on-off switches. As we go beyond zone 5 with higher force, lower repetitions, we get to zone 6 and 7, anaerobic, which have their value. But the value of cardio or aerobic training for longevity, heart health, energy, endurance, recovery from or during strength exercise, stress, etc., comes from the entire system: heart, lungs, circulatory, and energy system, and the muscle itself all getting more efficient. So if you use cardio zones, they really only truly apply if you're doing cardio. Super repetitive, long duration, low load movement. Even then, heart rate isn't perfect. So how difficult it feels 1 to 10, talk testing, and gauging how long you think you can hold that intensity are more accurate, free tools for finding your zones across multiple forms of cardio or different resistances and cadences. This doesn't mean you shouldn't do circuit training or get your heart rate up through lifting. You absolutely should, and I do. It just doesn't replace aerobic work. And yes, if you get bored easily, you can still do 5 or 10 minutes on one device, 5 or 10 minutes on another. But if your goal is to work aerobically, I wouldn't go less than 5 minutes of continuous work.